Hello, hello, hello. Welcome back to another episode of the HPC. Today, sadly, as you might notice, we are not at the studio nor at the ship. Um, I am the only one today in your always yours host, link to 2023, or the other band of the rest of the board, let's call them, are pretty much AWOL. I have not known much about Papyrus, but still missing. Temtem is currently engaged in a fight with everyone in the Marine Corps. And Fire has been kidnapped by Björklander pirates, by what I've been told. So today, since we could not do our regular programming, that was the Top Sale Mongoose episode, which we were going to test Fire's Mongoose. But sadly, as I just said, he is being held for ransom by Björkland at this moment, so we'll be taking a look at my library today, which that being, I have not that big of a library, but we'll be taking out one of my most precious books, that being the Northern Chronicles, a book detailing the details of the 422 or 423, I do not remember the exact year, of the Nova Balreskan expedition up to the Balrus continent. We'll be going over the 14 days of the expedition, and I will also be giving out copies of my edition so anyone can read them. Do note, days 3 and 4 and 14 are not contained in this edition of the book, and they have been essentially blanked out of history. So let's get on with the reading, shall we? The Diary of Pout, a Novobreskan expeditionary. Day 1, yet so familiar. This morning was quite eventful. Many of the last-minute preparations were rushed. It's always grin at home when I have to leave. But so be it. The majestic ship that we shall sail for has been repurposed by the dockers. It's a steam engine, bearing many inconveniences. But it's only something that would truly annoy steam engineer. I just hope this won't break under its own pressure. Leaving the familiar harbour of Novobreska, and for once, for a long time, was a peculiar experience, to say the least. I'll miss this place, its busy streets, charming forests, and geological formations. Oh well. Our captain of the journey, that I've been in contact with for a while now, became good acquaintance with, appeared to be quite indifferent to the travel. Most likely, with the years that he has spent at sea at this point. We're also joined by a retired chancellor, which was unexpected. When the department asked for some official, I was hoping for someone with experience, but not to such an extent. I'll have to be honest, he does not seem to be in best shape, especially in the legs. I overheard him mumble something about a mine shaft, but it might have been the wind. The first day was mostly of calm sailing, with only some minor inconveniences about the food quality to be reported. Postscriptum. Part of the food supply have spoiled. Instead of the originally planned 12 days of food for the crew, all rations were found to hold only 7 days, which, to say the least, is quite problematic. I've been told, because it's not included in this edition, that the ex-chancellor accompanying the crew, this crew of unfortunate individuals, is the ex-chancellor. Well, yes, the ex-chancellor, or at least his son, because I am having a bit of trouble remembering right now. Yes, it might have been either Flippy Senior or Flippy Junior. I am not aware as to who exactly it was, but it was either one of the two. Day 2, rundown. We continue to forge in avoiding Björkland, as they seem to still be hostile to us. But we are not certain. It's hard to have news when in the middle of the sea. We have encountered an island today. Nothing interesting to note except the unusually rapid increase of death. These measurements were made by calculating the time taken for the anchor to hit the ground. Location: when the island was first spotted, 620 meters, approximately 10 kilometers off the shore, 580 meters, approximately 700, 550, approximately 300 off the shore, 300, approximately 100, 80. Down below attached a map of the island. Quite interesting. Unlike in the Central Isles, the Grand Isles as being, The sea appeared to have, which indicated slightly higher sea level. A good resupply point, as we are not hostile to them. The order of the captain, we explored the island. Well, this should be enough to spare some hardtack for later on. After having charted most of the island, we decided to name it Ronda, or Diplomat. Colliser appeared to insist on this point, as one of his acquaintances was named Roy, or something similar. By the way, the sea seemed to do some good on his legs. I guess the high salinity does something. I am no biologist. I would recommend studying that. Otherwise, everyone seems to be okay. I feel a little worried that we only have 6 more days of food left, but the island gives some hope to be had. Additional rock samples should be found inside the hull for the ship for the supply, since we are not going to be using it. A map of the island. It's away from the Grand Isles. Each star being about like 1 kilometer or a few nautical miles. I'm not aware of the exact measurements. As you can see, 3 and 4 are not included for reasons unknown in my edition, but I will, if we do ever do any of these replacements episodes, I will try and get some more information on the day at 3 and 4 of the book. Day 5, Rogue Expedition. There has been a lot that has occurred due to the uncertain maps and not being aware of Prushovia. We were arrested by the coastal patrol. Well, I remember hearing gunfire while resting in the hull. An hour before we got captured, we were intercepted by what appeared to be a total of 6 clads, with 2 more moving south, which in comparison to the Grand Isles make them look not as grand if so many Poseidon-class ships were all the naval patrol. My experience in jail could be summed up as, well, interestingly, I was alone in my cell across 2 of our crew members, to be honest. To be honest, I've been in worse cells. Not too much happened for me the first day. Just some stale bread. Then on the second day, the feces hit the rotating blades. Because of a large thunderstorm, many of the guards have left their post for the night. Well, the crew members in front of me managed to pick their lock and grab the keys, somehow not letting anyone in the meantime. Which, to say it's quite impressive for liberating 10 people. Anyhow, we fled to the top of the exterior walls with a view above the small Prussian port. It's on these ramparts that I met up with our captain and diplomat and the rest of the crew under his leadership, and having unanimously played slowly, he evaluated our options, either to break the law and further go rogue, stealing one of the many ships docked, which our diplomat was not in favor, or surrender to the authority to avoid diplomatic problems between Prussia and Balreskan. Obviously, we were not going to take that option. I would rather keep my neck in its place. So we come down to the fortification. And at this point, we realized we were on a hill, which is not a problem for the crew, but for our diplomat, which, with his broken ankles and in questionable health, the president did not give him any gifts. And this is where being a creative person comes in. I proposed he could roll sideways down the hill with someone in front to catch him and someone ensuring that he was doing fine. Although questionably stealthy, it worked. We found ourselves on the docks with a couple of ships to choose from. Due to the stormy weather, many of their livelihoods seemed to have died down for the night. One of the ships was a Poseidon-class ship, which would have been a very good ship, but due to what it appeared, the crew was on board, so we settled for the next best ship, a Marlin, and sailed out as fast as possible. No one in their right mind would follow us. This gives us half a day in advance. Note: we will still have the Prussian flag. We still have the Prussian flag on our ship, so we would not get intercepted by the other ships. It's a shame we'd lost the rock samples. If we ever get to Balresk, I'd rather stay there for a while and come back. Day 6, the calm before the storm. Should I still record this voyage as a scientific journal? Well, I'd rather just record the events that are happening. It's significantly more interesting, and I'm not sure anyone will ever read these. Considering how bleak things are looking, Captain Vogel informed me that we have more or less 2 days of food. Let's hope we can just find some more on an island or something. I don't think it would be wise to go to port, considering we're now considered criminals. Amazing. Nothing much happened today. We encountered a ship when heading eastward from the Prussian mainland. And to avoid confusion, like what happened on the third day, we avoided by moving more northward. Nothing to be reported. I would also like to comment on the colder winds recently, giving some hope to the crew, which is quite in short supply. Only days of food is quite problematic. Postscriptum: leaks, leaks, leaks. It's quite how the ship's still afloat. Day 7. It was hope. As the traces of Vesuvian industrial smoke and clouds are left behind, we begin to have the true sense of north. Snow and ice have begun to demonstrate themselves, and finally, after a week of hope, pains, and troubles, we've reached the shoals. Not there so far. Quite a good price for progress. Unfortunately, it's just too late for us to dock successfully. Our food is running out, and I really hope there are deer or just any kind of food on the shore. But just the fact we have encountered the continent's a milestone worth noting, to say the least. Also, unlike our previous assumptions, the coast does have, as far it seems, vegetation, though it was not fully torched in flames. On a more scientific note, a whale was spotted today before heading westward. It just seemed extremely surprising that these mammals move toward the north with high concentration of krill and plankton available. These should be no doubt they have a feast. Unfortunately, there are no large number of elements to report from, other than the presence of white rectangular-looking sails at the horizon. I would think it's a ship, but it's so far away that I'm considering a madman by the crew. Also, the captain seemed a bit sick today. Nothing much, I guess. It was a case of the cough. Day 8. It was hope, and it is hope, in a more awkward way than expected. Well, today was more interesting, to say the least. As we approached the shore, the rectangular-looking clouds appeared to be a ship. So that's good for multiple reasons, but bad for others. For the positives, I am not fully insane. Yay! And we have other people in these shores, so we could maybe have some additional food available. But on the other hand, they could be pirates or could want us harm. The closer it came to us, the more information we could gather of it. A stiletto-class ship, a white Christian flag above its mast, and major damage to the structure. We approached them and greet them as a Peruvian expedition or chartering operation, attempting not to attract suspicion of why a Nova Balreskan expedition would be in Balreskan waters under one of those flags. Quite amusing now that I think of it. Nothing much to declare or explain. I would recommend reading more on what our diplomats to have a complete discussion. Otherwise, after this little hiccup in terms of coordination, we landed on the shore to gather food. Seemingly this land is very rich in animal life. I have also have some samples of Balreskan plants which I didn't recognize. I'm not a biologist, so I just take everything that looks interesting. Additionally, rock and mineral samples were taken and are located along the lower section of the hull. I also like to note the surprisingly large quantity of fish located on the shore. These fish seem to be of medium length and grey-toned skin. I am certain it is some type of winter migration they do, as there is no way such a cold ecosystem could provide enough food for so many of the same species. Tomorrow I'll try to bonk one out of the water, with the lack of precise terminology on how to use a big mace to take out a fish. Postscriptum. Actually, now that I think about it, it is a bit unusual to meet Whitecrest so far north. I wonder if the Noble Boriscan High Commander or Chancellor said to Whitecrest or something, because there is normally would be no way for them to know that we went this way. Can't they keep their mouth shut? Day 9 of Ancient Relics or something else. As discussed yesterday, we were stocked up on food so we could finally explore the rest of the island. Heading east then north, we encountered a village. Great news! It actually seemed bigger, but considering the lack of activity visible, it seemed quite dead. We went to dock, and no sign of Lycras, by the way. We were greeted by an old man seeming ecstatic, screaming at us some language which, would be completely honest, sounds crazy and unrecognizable. The captain and Colasso were worried that he was a part of a cannibal tribe or something, especially with the smell of poorly cooked meat. I was indifferent to that, considering we had pistols and outnumbered him 10-1. I was feeling mostly confident, but so let me summarize how I see it. We went from Novoborosk, got captured by Pashuvia and stole one of their ships, risk starvation, and we don't go to a city because of some smelly old man that doesn't know how to cook properly. Quite a stupid reaction, but okay. Would have rather been killed by some cannibal while exploring our gold than to go out and come for nothing. Once we left the port, somehow Team Vogel knew where the other ports were. Kinda suspicious, but okay. I wonder if he understood the crazy old man. Otherwise, examples of the city's infrastructure included but not limited to wood samples from the dock, some hay, and some coal left in the dock. This could lead us to an approximate date from when the docks were abandoned, using carbon dating. Day 10. Invisible Unknown Enemy. Today has been quite interesting and disgusting, to say the least. We found another village when we headed eastward. Like the previous village, one was visible, but this time no crazy old man. Venturing closer to the city gates, we noticed that there were a significantly large amount of dead people. Well, they told me so. Just after looking inside the first house and seeing a multitude of corpses made me for a run for the bucket. Yuck, stayed on the ship for the rest of the day. They also reported a lot of dead, mass graves, etc. But strangely, there did not seem to be any weapons visible, with the exception of what seemed to be, and according to a crewman, the major or some official personnel with their head missing. I will spread the details, but he seemed like he took his own life. I find it very strange that no houses were burnt, but reports cited that Balreskan was burned to the ground with little survivors. I wondered what happened. Did they all go on extended food strike or something? While I was waiting on the ship, I also know that there was a little river going northward on it. The bridges were blown up, and I could guess that the other routes were blocked off. Someone did not want people leaving or entering. Actually, now that I think about it, it did seem like a siege. Strange for a coastal city. Actually, it couldn't be protected by a sea, and most of Balreskan fleet was busy at Terranford, so the attacker could have easily starved the city, which makes me wonder why did they not capture it. Oh well. It didn't get a lot of scientific action done today, unfortunately, but so the attacker could have easily starved the city, but which makes me wonder why did they not capture it? Oh well. I didn't get a lot of scientific action done today, unfortunately, but this is more of archaeological work, so it compensates, I think. For the rest of the day, we started heading more northeast. Day 11, harmonica. Great news! One of our crew members found a harmonica aboard, finally something to do when sailing other than looking at the frozen coast and surprisingly chilly waters. Most of the day was spent just waiting for a large snowstorm to pass. To move further east along the coast, finally some jolly atmosphere. We have food, land, and entertainment. What else could you ask? On a more serious note, we have 4 days days of food left, which should be sufficient for seeing the rest of the coast. Maybe we can spend some extra time in Yorktown to find flags or relics, or at least something unique from there for the meeting hall. At least this is not useless. We're reforming history after all. Also, the captain seemed a bit sick today, but well, more than 3 days ago. It seemed to have passed, but now and again he sniffles and coughs. Day 12, realization. Not much today, except something major. Quite contradictory, but I don't think it won't be too bad considering that I trust it will be arranged from one form or another. To put it simply, Team Virgil is majorly sick. It seemed to be the flu, or some equivalent of it. Also, I would like to note that the other two members of the crew seem sick. Well, with our cartographer being more or less kaput, all of three seem to have the same sickness, which I wonder if this was intended could have killed the town. Considering the state of the town we were in, it may be the plague which caused Balreskan to fall, with more and more desperate measures to put in place to stop the plague from spreading. It's interesting. Otherwise, for the rest of the day, we headed north and came ashore to a town that was razed to the ground by fire. Which does align itself with the records from the Weather expedition. It's my guess that the Republic tried to stop spreading by burning villages and towns so that the infected people would not come to another location, which A seemed quite an anti-population friendly way of dealing with a problem, and B ineffective as we can see. Not a lot of notable about the town except how much it was burned to the ground. It's not impressive but still notable. We did not find a name for it. We named it Charmite with the reference to how burnt it was. We also found some odd form of metal on the shore which seemed to be unique to this place. I'll bring a sample. I also find it amusing how people think I'm some sort of crazed hoarder on the ship with all my plants and junk samples. I don't mind too much. Day 13, getting worse. Our Captain Team Vogel appears to be very sick, and unfortunately I do believe has been severely infected, often passing out of conscience. At least that was until early this evening, and since Calaso left the crew and other expeditionary members, it's more or less gone. I am now the highest ranked, and considering that this infection has been spreading, I would consider the whole infected personnel to be unable to do their duties. Quarantining them would be definitely the best option, as we do still need a crew. However, this does cause a bit of a problem, as crewing the ship is now only 50% effective, and since our helmsman is also sick, I guess I now need to take care of that role as well. This is sure to keep me busy. This reminds me, is this expedition log in our captain's journal? Maybe, just in case I'll think of some way of keeping it in safe hands. Probably the people back at Nova won't mind. A bunch of rats might sneak into the sheep as well. Sheep. Plus, they haven't done too much, but they did go through me and both the captain old notes, which is concerning due to their values. I can hardly imagine if they ate up all the paper. At least we have that properly identified. I'll send 2 people tomorrow to fix that. The whole situation places things into perspective. Maybe Balras wasn't even conquered in the conventional sense. Maybe they burned themselves to the ground, ensured that this plague of sorts would spread further. We'll have to see tomorrow. If things don't get better, radical action might be need to take place. I should send a message to Pigeon down south. Thankfully, this pursuant ship has one. The crew seems to enjoy its company. I think it's a worthy use for her. The diary features a fourthing log with no contents. It seems our crew met its demise here. This is. I'm sorry if I sound a bit tired. It's like the fourth take I do. I hope you all have a good evening and good night. Post production link here. I did forget to add the theory section here at the end. So, there is three main leading theories to believed by the public, and one of mine being the option A, that the Balreskan continent was where the Northern Calf was originated, and whilst the essential where the all of the fleet was over at Terranford, the continent was essentially wiped out by the plague. Though it does seem a bit strange because the fleet was not gone for too long, at least by what's described by my records, so it is a bit incongruent. The other option is whilst the Inyolans told Balresk to go fight for them in Terranford, Inyola got to Balresk, sacked the entire country, killed everyone, and burned it. How nice of them. But there is also not much evidence for that, just apart from, the weird Inyolan retreat during the Terranford battle and them not being seen again. And the third option, one of mine, is what if both things happen at the same time? What if the Northern Cough was spreading through the continent just as the Injolans came in and destroyed everything? It would explain the high levels of dead people, the burned out areas, why a lot of stuff was missing from the continent itself. It would explain a lot. But that does it for today. Have a good evening. Goodbye.